Google just pulled back the curtain on what it takes to get your website ranking in their AI features. So I just wanted to shoot a quick video going over exactly, through all the points in here, what it means for ecom SEO, what it means for your business, and hopefully at the end of it, you'll have a good idea of what's important and what's not. If you don't know me, my name's Mike. I'm the founder of SEO Oasis. We are an AI era SEO agency for e-commerce businesses. So we help e-com businesses show up first on Google and first on AI, like ChatGPT and AI, Google's AI features. So the thing they released a few days ago that everyone seems to be talking about now is pretty interesting. It kind of breaks down, it has like 2 or 3 main sections. First, like, why is SEO still relevant? Then a couple things you can do to help show up better in the AI features on Google. And then it gets into some myth busting, which is interesting. And so I'm going to go through each of these points, kind of talk about it, what it means for ecom, kind of go against what it's saying, because you have to keep in mind what Google says works for SEO and for now AI optimization, and what actually works don't always totally match up in reality. I think what Google releases to the public is like their idealistic version of what would work if their systems worked perfectly, which of course they don't. And so what we see in practice versus what they tell us works doesn't always match up 1-to-1. But anyway, I think the main headline of this whole article is that SEO is still relevant for AEO, and even that Google itself considers AEO and GEO optimizing for generative AI. Search is optimizing for the search experience and thus still SEO. And so Google itself considers all these things under the same bucket of SEO. And this section here kind of goes into why. And at a high level, it's the reason why is because SEO is still optimizing for getting your website to be viewed well by Google's search index. And as you can see here, it says our generative AI features are rooted in our core search ranking algorithm. And the reason that is because they rely on these 2 things. The first is RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation. Basically, what this means in the context of SEO is Google's AI is relying on its own search index to ground answers. In other words, make sure they're accurate and high quality, up to date, etc. And so if you do really well in SEO and you're seen in a good light by their search index, you're more likely to be retrieved when the AI is trying to ground its answers. And so instead of SEO for Google search, in SEO in Google search is just doing well in the index so that you show up high on Google search. Now it's showing up, it's doing well. You have to do well in the index so that the AI actually retrieves your content when it's trying to come up with an answer for someone. So it's important in that sense. And then it's also important in a related kind of tangentially related to this first one is query fan out, where when someone searches a question, Google and other AIs for the matter fan out the queries, right? So if the example they give here is if someone's asking about lawn care, it might fan out to best herbicides for lawns, remove weeds without chemicals, how to prevent weeds in lawn, etc. And so if you're able to, again, be in a good light in Google's index for these topics, not just the topic that the person is searching for, but all the topics related to that. In other words, be very authoritative in a niche, for all the different query fan outs that Google might do. You're going to have, again, a better chance of being cited and mentioned in the AI overviews. And then the way you optimize to be in a good light in Google search index is just good fundamental SEO, right? So because of all that, SEO is still really important for Google's AI features. Which is actually a note I should have said at the beginning, is that this is for Google's AI overviews and AI mode. This doesn't directly apply to ChatGPT and Claude and all that. That being said, I think everyone is really focused on ChatGPT and all the different models, new models that, people are using for actual tasks, but it seems like no one's really talking about AI overviews, even though it's right under our noses, and it is by far, just by pure numbers, has to be the most viewed AI answer engine. Google has tens of billions of searches per day, and about a quarter of those end up with AI, with the AI mode or the AI overview, and I think ChatGPT, which is the biggest consumer model by far, has like 800 million weekly users, if I remember that correctly. And so it just dwarfs Google AI overview, and AI mode just dwarfs every other model probably combined. And for some reason, everyone's so focused on ChatGPT. So I think this is a good reminder as well. This whole article is a good reminder that AI overviews is really the AI answer engine you should be focusing on for your business. So yeah, I guess that's just a side note. But anyway, so getting into the next section here of how to apply foundational SEO for AI search. To no surprise, there's nothing really that new in here. Create valuable non-commodity content, which we'll get into, and then build and maintain a clear technical infrastructure. I think this is probably higher up on the rung now, just because the AI and the RAG is heavily reliant on the crawlers being able to understand your website really well. And so before, maybe you can get by because it's mostly humans, crawling your website or not crawling your website, but reading your website. And now that shift is kind of leaning towards AI bots and AI agents and whatnot. So if your website isn't easily understandable to those, you're going to have a really tough time showing up in the AI overviews. But I think the biggest thing that they're trying to push, which of course they are, because they want their whole thing is they want people to create useful content for their indexes, their search index. But yeah, it always just comes down to creating valuable non-commodity content. Now, this is where this article, in my opinion, start to differ a little bit. This is basically saying, if you read through it, creating non-commodity content, creating commodity content isn't that helpful, whereas creating non-commodity content is going to be more helpful. Obviously, unique non-commodity content is going to be preferred, but at the same time, if you don't have all the all the commodity content that Google says they're not looking for, you're going to have a hard time being viewed as an authoritative source by Google, just because you're not covering all the topics that they associate with a website that is authoritative in the space. So I think they're using kind of a real estate website as an example. And sure, 7 tips for first-time home buyers, anyone can come up with that because it's just kind of general knowledge. But if you don't have that and another website does, again, you're just going to have a tougher time coming off as an authoritative source. So because this is so easy to produce, I think you need to produce it. And then also produce non-commodity content just at a lower velocity, I guess, just because of the nature of it. It is unique and it takes some more effort going into, case studies. In this example, for an ecom brand, you could talk about how you helped a customer out, or you could just, write about some commodity piece of content, 7 tips for first home buyers, and use your expertise to give a unique perspective on it. Maybe the 7 tips that everyone else is writing about aren't what you would supposedly, or aren't what you would write about it. And so I think, yes, this is true, but also I still think you need these other commodity pieces of content just to show that you are an authority in the space, right? And then the other big thing, everything else is kind of like, yeah, sure, video is really important. I think I'm seeing video being cited more and more often in the AI reviews, like YouTube videos. So just making YouTube videos like this one is going to be really helpful, but also embedding that on your blog post can help out as well. But I think at the end of the day, the big headline for this one is like you're totally allowed to use AI tools to generate your content, which we've known. You just have to make sure that there's some unique angle and different from all the other pieces of content in some way, then you're good to go. Pooping out 100 blogs a day directly from AI without editing it or adding any unique viewpoint, that type of programmatic SEO is probably not going to be useful for you. So yeah, that's that. And then we get into like building and maintaining technical structure. I think these are all pretty clear. Like, okay, you have to be able to be indexed to be able to show up. You have to have the right, schema for all the rich results. Obviously, I don't think anything in here is all that groundbreaking. It's all the same stuff as what they've been saying in the past. The only difference is I think is just a little bit more important. So if you don't have this technical structure, clean schema, clean HTML, and following JavaScript best practices, if you're using that, making sure it's not slowing down your site, whatever. And then of course, like internal linking and stuff like that, I would include here, just to help the crawlers bounce around your website more efficiently. I think that's really important. And then yeah, for e-commerce specifically, you can go deeper with schema. It's going to be much more important for e-commerce businesses as opposed to like a real estate business to have really high quality schema that gives all the important information about your products right within that structured data. And then, yeah, using, of course, Merchant Center and the Google Business Profile if you have a brick and mortar store. Like obviously the Google crawlers are going to pull from the native Google tools to understand your business. So just having those cleaned up and optimized is going to be essential. Like you just can't really skip out on any of this. I would say get 85 to 90% of the way there. Typically, the last 10 to 15% of technical optimizations take a really long time to do and don't add that much benefit for SEO. So that's the only caveat I would add to that one. Then we get into like myth busting and going through each one of these. I think LLMs.txt and other like structured pages that are specifically for agents on your website. I don't think they improve your AI visibility at all, which is what Google's saying here. And I agree with that. However, I do think they're really easy to set up and they do help, theoretically could help an agent understand your website quicker if it is on there. So it's not going to help improve visibility, but it's going to help AI agents, not necessarily Google's crawl bots or the AI crawl bots, but like agents people send off to like go look at your website. It's going to help those understand your website better. So it's just one of those like really low cost things that might have pretty big upside. If not now, a few months from now. It doesn't have to be the LLMs.txt. It could just be a not raw, but basic HTML page that explains everything about your website, right? Just having some piece of content specifically for the agents, low cost, low chance of it negatively affecting your website and potentially high payback. So in my opinion, I say why not? When it comes to like chunking content and rewriting content for AI systems, these are kind of the same bullet point. This one I'm 50-50 on. I have seen chunking content into small like really short paragraphs and then just following that like question answer format. I have seen that work. But again, it all depends on the type of content you're writing. I'm not going to sit here and claim that this is totally wrong. Again, I think this is what in their ideal world is going to be true. Like you don't have to rewrite content for AI systems, but I think even still now, there are some tricks you can do to help like AI crawlers prefer the type of content that you're putting out. But this is becoming less and less true. Like it is less true than it was a year ago, I would say. So that's all I'll say on that. This one's pretty interesting. Seeking inauthentic mentions. It's pretty vague. I think they're talking about backlinks, buying backlinks, or being part of private blog networks or link exchanges or whatever. And again, this is where this article, in my opinion, is going to differ. If your domain authority is an issue and is low relative to your competitors, and you have some budget to put behind it, I think buying backlinks can make sense as long as the backlinks are helpful and relevant on relevant websites, like high quality websites. It's going to help you. There's no way like Google can tell if you're buying backlinks or getting a backlink naturally because you're paying under the table basically, right? And as long as you're not buying it from PBNs or really spammy websites, and the websites that you are buying from are relevant to what you're selling, and the anchor text and the backlink is relevant to what the content's talking about and again, what you're selling, then buying backlinks is definitely going to help you. They, of course, just don't want that happening. So, of course, they're going to say this. And then over-focusing on structured data and schema. This is just basically saying there's nothing special that the AI needs. in terms of schema for your website, but you still definitely need really high quality schema markup, again, especially for e-commerce businesses. And then, yeah, it gets into a little bit into like the future of agentic experiences and universal commerce protocol, which I wouldn't worry about this at all until you have these two things, the content and the technical side, fixed and in a good cadence of producing high quality content. Just because it's in the future. But, you can start thinking about it now, setting up web pages to make it, again, very obvious to agents what buttons are clickable, what forms are fill-outable. But yeah, this is like cherry on top. Get the other stuff done first. And that's basically what this is saying. Get the fundamentals down, then you can explore agentic experiences. So hopefully that's helpful. Just to wrap up, like when it comes to e-commerce businesses, get the technical stuff right. Like it's more important than ever. Make sure you're covering all the commodity content that Google's telling you not to cover. I still think you need to cover it just so that you have that base of knowledge on your website. And then do your best to create non-commodity content, talking about specific customer stories, someone who had a really good experience, or maybe a customer that had a bad experience and you helped them out, like your customer support team helped them out. That would be a cool case study. Or getting the internal like expert in your product to just provide insight to other commodity pieces of content is going to help get you in that AI overview, which again, much more important than ChatGPT at this point. Even if you can't see it in Google Analytics yet, I imagine eventually you will be able to see how many people are coming from the AI overviews because more and more people are caring about it. But just by pure numbers, there's no way that it's not bigger than ChatGPT. It just is. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. And yeah, hopefully you found this helpful.